Hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. My name is Volcata, and today we are going to try to finish up all the prep work we need to do for update 6 so that we can, consider more seriously whether or not we want to transition over to it, and make sure that it's going to be stable before we do so because we can't go back once we go forward. But then we also want to continue our expansion in the electronics hub, which is going to require us to tackle our need for copper. So that will be where we will begin once we get over there. But I don't think there's much else we need to say about it. We don't have a hard drive working. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else to do here. So let's save a little bit of time and just get going. And I will catch you guys on the way to the job site. Alright, so first thing we're going to tackle today is to actually connect the change on the bridge here. I'm going to take over driving here. Switch over to the new rail. And we're going to leave... Oh, came in a little hot. Oh, I'm so glad it didn't just go right off the edge. We're going to go ahead and connect these. And we're going to disconnect the other ones, but we're going to leave the rails in place, or the platforms, just in case anything is not right with this, or if we discover that this isn't actually lined up the way we hope that it is. I want it to be fairly painless to be able to come back across here and redo it and move it again. All right, and you can see I got some of the blocking signals up, but I think that we'll have to, actually let me run down here real quick. I think we need to get either blocking signals before that split because the rails are crossing, or just maybe delete the rails. Yeah, see how this is, it's the same color even though it's divided over there? Let's just get rid of the straight rails. We'll worry about cleaning this stuff up later when we know everything's good. All right, look, so these are now separated. And I think one more thing we want to do, because you do want to segment the rails from time to time. Even though there's no potential here for a collision, you want to have, on these long straight rails, you want to segment them because two trains going the same direction, if you don't have these segmented, say this is like this dark green all the way down to where it's going, then a train would occupy this entire rail line, even though, they're only like 5 cars wide or long. And you want to segment them so that one train doesn't block another train from going the same way. So we're going to break this up a bit, and the rails, let's see, the signals, we have them on the inside just because of the directions we're going. And I want the signal to be viewable from the direction that you're coming from. We're going to wait for this guy to come by. But if we were to, say, put one here, and you see the next segment is right here. If you're coming this way in the train, this one is kind of visually blocking that one, which I don't really care for. And there are a number of places on the tracks that are that way that I kind of want to go back at some point and fix. I guess it, again, doesn't hurt anything functionally. Let's see if we separate that. And we put one right here. See, this is how it is in a lot of them. And then we can move this over to here. Come on, good one. Other side, thank you. There we go. That way when we're coming down this way, the signal that is relevant to the direction is the one that's in front. So I think that's much better. And I'll probably revisit the segment lengths at some point. But again, right now we only have one train going this route. So it's not that big of a deal. Except for, when we were driving our personal train through here. Sometimes we hold up the other train if we don't have it segmented. But we'll go through here later on. I'll do it off camera. There's just no point in doing it on camera. It's just a matter of trying to measure them out, kind of, you know, and getting them all relatively the same length. And we're just going to take this down to the end of the line and loop it back around, come back, because what we need to do now is take care of, you know, the old oil area and just get it all cleaned up, because, you know, we know that that area is no longer going to be usable in Update 6, not at least as we have it built. So before we can even consider switching over, we need to go ahead and get rid of that whole thing, and we actually need to do some changes to the station. You know, there's no better time than the present to take a look and see how the rail came out for Update 6. Yeah, alright, looks like it's coming out alright. Yeah, turns just in the right place. We get a nice waterfall. It'd be nice if the waterfall was a little bit wider, but that works. Yeah, it looks like we can go ahead and tear out all the old rail through this area at least, and the platforms. And I guess we can get rid of that Men at Work sign. And yeah, I think now we just need to take care of the oil area and probably just take down this station entirely. I'm not sure that we have use for it anymore. All right, so before we actually go down to the oil products, we need to prep this area a little bit. As you just saw, this is actually also going to be embedded by the rock. And, you know, as I mentioned, I'm not sure we're going to keep the stations at all. You know, we can always rebuild them later, but I think that in the future, we would probably put it somewhere else if we put one through here. But we're not going to tear it down until we have the oil done. What we need to do is prep. Let's see here. We need some space. Boy, we really don't have room to work with. We want to build awesome sinks. And let's see here. Yeah. Let's see if we can just squeeze. This is a very temporary thing. Boy, I don't want to put that on the rail. This is going to be a little hanky for a bit. But let's plop one down here, because there is no train going that way currently. And one right here. We have no reason to keep basically anything that has been coming to the station anymore, right? It's all full of rubber and plastic, and we have our mega factory now, so we don't need any of this, and there's really nowhere else for us to put it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to flush it, but we also need, let's see here, we need to do something else, and I will explain momentarily. Let's just do that for now. But there's one more thing I want to do here, which is I've actually done something off camera that quite some time back that I don't think I ever mentioned. And don't know if we can get away with running conveyors over. Yeah, we're gonna try it. We need ourselves a smart splitter. This will all make sense momentarily. I guess we can put it, we'll put it right here. Oh, this is such a mess. I cannot wait to clean this up already. Just as long as we can run ourselves a input. There we go. We have been making a product that I've never mentioned, and that is packaged fuel. And I don't typically need packaged fuel as a thing normally, right? Beyond, if we're using our jetpack, which we don't even have unlocked, which is the reason I started making it. And, if we actually use it, which I find that I just don't use the jetpack. It's pretty decent for exploration. You know what? We didn't power that. Give me a second. So, as I was saying, we are going to need some of the packaged fuel for unlocking the jetpack, but I don't really use it much. And beyond that, there's nothing we're going to keep here. It's all gone. We don't have anything unique here that we're not already making somewhere else and that we're already full on, like from building materials and whatnot. Now, this will impact us slightly because we are drawing power from this location. I think I'm running out of Mark IV belt material. But, it's not a big deal. We're not relying on this. Yeah, I can't do any more. I think I have some here. If not, I have some back at the train. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I'm going to tear down all of this. And I'm going to have to go through and clear out all of the oil extractors. Like the one, well, that one obviously is in use. But we had 10 oil extractors throughout this whole place. And we really need to get them all out of the way because some of them are going to be embedded in terrain. And even if they're not, as we found when we did the walkthrough, they moved all of them. And they are considered claimed. We wanted to leave them, the ones that are out in the open. We could, I guess, and still pump from them, which would be kind of awkward. But we don't want to do that. So we're going to clear all of it out. I'm going to dump all of this stuff into the sinks. Oh boy, it's going to be a lot of stuff. And just literally everything that I can find that we had is going to go. Oh, and beforehand, go over this real quick. The packaged fuel. This was a thing. I came over here at one point and I just siphoned off a little bit of the heavy oil just so that we'd have a stock of packaged fuel for, jetpack if we ever decided to use it, or at least for the unlock of it. And if you're not familiar with it, it's just heavy oil residue, or any way you want to make fuel, piped straight into a packager with empty canisters. And I just had a little constructor here that was also turning plastic into it, and I didn't have it sinking on the other end. I just let it fill up and that was just one and done. But yeah, that's what we're going to keep. All this is going to go to the station up there, and we'll end up transporting all of it via train to our home base. And that way we'll have a good stock of this stuff, for any future use. Again, if we want to use a jetpack or future use of the Explorer or whatever. But we don't need to have a regular income of it. All right. I hate tearing things down, so I keep putting it off. let me get to it. All right, I think we got pretty much everything taken care of here. Just bleeding off the remainder of what's left. Throwing the junk I've got into a pit. Yeah, it's all gone. I even picked up all the beacons, and yeah, everything's gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. It feels so strange, I know that it wasn't a mega complex or anything like that, but there was a thing here, and now there isn't. But we knew this is why we didn't build here, right? When we got that red flag warning saying, you know, get out of get out of town if we have anything in the area. That's when we decided we were abandoning this as a place, and I am so glad that we did. But this is it, and everything's going up to, you know, the remaining drop-offs. Let's see, we can clear that out too. And what we're going to do is pick up the belts as we go back to the station, and this hyper tube. I'm probably going to leave, you know, half of the hyper tube. Like, you know, we can get rid of it from here and leave, like, you know, a little bit of it at where the station is. Because I don't think we're going to tear down the station entirely today, but I really suspect that in the long run we're going to take the whole thing down. But for now, we need to leave part of it up because it has our packaged fuel. We still need to get a train to pick that up. I don't think that we're going to use our personal train. We'll probably just throw up a temporary train and have it just do a one-off delivery to home. But we can't do that until we have home prepared. Oh, I know better than that. Until we have home prepared so that we can actually run it into a storage. So I think we're good here, and I'll meet you back at the station so that we can clean up the final objects and get to our second half of the episode. All right, the train has just passed by, and I think we need to get this moved. We're just gonna turn it around here, I think. Because right now this track is not in use, so we should be able to safely park it here. Alright, I think we're good there. And we're just going to take all of this down. And we need to move that rail to just kind of another pass-through for now. So that, you know, in fact, I think what we can do is we can just use this line right here. Yeah, because we saw that this would be, oh good, it reaches, I don't even have to segment it. We saw that this would be outside of the rock. Like if we had the station, I think the edge of the station hits the rock like right in here. But all of this was inside of the new terrain, so a halt has to go. And if, you know, that rail line is like just touching just the edge of it, I think we'll still be able to reclaim it. But I think this is the last that we need to see of it. Anything else I'm going to do, I'll do off camera. And I think I want to get heading back to the hub. All right, let's get back to the work site. Actually start to build instead of tearing things down. So, unfortunately, there was actually some plans in this episode that sadly are not going to come to fruition, which was, you know, as earlier we had that little transition of going to update 6 as we were driving to the station. I was going to do that again going back to the electronics hub, and then we were just going to stay in update 6. This was going to be our move to update 6. Unfortunately, it's not possible. I've spent days trying to get update 6 to run stably, and that involves trying to get the mod for the time-lapsing to work, and it absolutely will not work. I cannot get it to load. The game itself will not even load if the mod is installed, and that led to doing a lot of research and a ridiculous amount of unnecessary difficulty of finding the developers for the mod because they are not part of the regular modding Discord stuff. And long story short, eventually I found a relatively recent post where they acknowledged that it doesn't work in update 6 and that they are going to fix it when they can, but there are some other dependencies that they're waiting on, and basically we don't know when the time-lapse mod is going to start working for update 6. And until then, I think we are kind of stuck with not moving up to 6. So that's okay. But yeah, that was kind of the plan for today. It's not interfering with what we were going to do anyway, but it was just I was ready to make the change. And you can't go back and forth between 5 and 6. The saves are not compatible. So, you know, the first time that we actually do something in 6, we cannot go back to 5. So that's a thing. So that's all right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up our copper, our first real copper manufacturing. You know, we had that one node back at home, and we fully tapped that out a long time ago. But we need to bring in more copper for this part of our manufacturing because we're going to need it for AI nodes. And fortunately, we have those here. And this is iron. But up there, I believe that's it, is our copper. And we are going to make the most of it. Well, sort of the most. Mostly most. Let's get rid of these guys. Surprise! Good, good. I think I killed one of them on the explosion. Oh, did I get 2 of them? Oh, nice. But we still only have 1 node, just like at home. Oh, thought we only had 1 node. Ah, there's another one. Nice. Okay, anyway, that doesn't change our plans. That makes our plans make a little bit more sense. Let's all right, so the plan is going to be to utilize this node with our alternate recipes. However, if we look at our copper ingots, we have 2 options. We have the refinery option, which gives us more total output. You know, 6 to 15 is like 1.5 ore to ingot. And with the foundry recipe, it's 1 to 2. So it's a little less efficient. However, I want to point something out. So we're taking, say, this node alone is pure, so it's going to be 240 per minute of raw ore. 240 per minute, 50 use per minute. This is just 5 foundries. A little underclocked on the 5th one. If we look at the refinery one, it's 15 per minute. That is 16 refineries. At 30 megawatts apiece, that is oil, or that's water also we have to bring in, water extractors. It's a massive amount of space, energy. It's not worth the benefit. So we're going to go with the foundry, especially since, you know, the foundry one requires iron ore. And we have that node right there. And now that I think about it, you know, since we have 2 nodes, I originally, when I was thinking about this, I was only going on 1 node. Since we have 2 copper ore nodes, we might as well just go ahead and merge them because it takes half as much ore from the iron. And that means we can tap 1 full iron ore pure node that will take care of both of our copper nodes, and we just make a bajillion copper ingots. We won't necessarily utilize all of them right now, but we know that we have a use for, you know, copper, or at least kind of we're a bottleneck for it at the moment because at home we're using 100% of it. And we can earmark it for other things in the future. So let's get to putting down the miners and the foundations. and we'll find ourselves a little spot where we can throw up a building for foundries. That means it'll be 10 foundries, but they're not too big, so we should be able to fit them in pretty easily somewhere in this area, and it'll just add to our, kind of building complex. So let's knock that out real quick so we can actually start using those copper ingots for the copper sheeting that we're going to need for the AI nodes. That's all right, just watching the train. It's done. Yeah, let's do a quick walkthrough. I got rid of the ramp, and this should be temporary. I just got tired of running up and down the ramp, and I needed it out of the way anyway. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I like how it came out, and the math is really in our favor here. So I'm going to give you a quick run down of it. 'Cause the time lapse was a top down. I was doing something kind of new with this design, and I thought that the top down would play out pretty nicely, and hopefully it did. But this is, I did a false floor for belting, and I actually used the regular foundations because it's something we just haven't been using. But what's going to happen here is we're going to forget to connect the belt, and it's not going to work. The iron's coming in on this side, and the copper's coming on that side. And we've done something like this before, where we have done the false floor and sent things up to the floor above. But I went with a different strategy on this one, as you might have told from the time lapse. But what I decided to do was, because the foundries have only 2 entrances, and we were going to do 2 sets of 5 because of the amount of copper we have. And we can get to a good vantage point here. I came up with this little design here. I'm just so happy with the way it came out. So this is, like, right here is iron coming up from the chute, from the below up the lift, and it splits into these 2 machines, and then crosses over, it splits into those 2 machines. So we alternate. This is copper right here, hitting all 4, then iron, and then copper, and then finally iron on the end. And of course the other end began with copper. So this is a really cool pattern. I really like the way this came out. Nothing overlaps. We didn't have to do any kind of weird stacking. And it's nice and clean on this floor. I'm just so pleased with the way this came out. I think it's really, really neat. And yeah, we get to go back and forth between iron and copper, which one's going in which side. And by the math, because we're bringing in 480 copper ore, and it's doubling up. So we're going to produce 960 ingots, which is kind of insane. That's more than we need at the moment, which is great. Having extra is great. But that also means that we can't merge the outputs. So the 2 outputs are going back downstairs, and they're just remaining separated. They're not merged together. And they'll just come out, these 2, when we have somewhere to send them. And we were going to send them today, but we are so out of time. Just so very out of time. It took a little longer than I expected to clean up the other area over there, the oil. And, this episode's already a week late for the people who are watching this in real time. It took a lot of time trying to, really trying to get update 6 to work, and sadly, it can't. I mean, it could if we didn't want to use our time lapses, and infinite zoop doesn't work. And I don't want to push it. There's no reason to push it. It's not going to make the content better. by taking away tools that we find useful. So we're not going to do anything with the copper today. Let's pick that up on the next episode. We'll need to turn, a fair amount of this into copper sheeting, and then we can go into the AI nodes and all that stuff, or the AI limiters. But I'm gonna go ahead and fire this thing up, and hopefully it all works. And I don't think I got any belts wrong, but we're gonna witness it working, and then we're gonna head home, do our outro, and just call it an episode. Okay, yeah, look at it come. Well, that's gonna be a lot of copper ore coming down from 240s. 240s. Maybe should put some lighting in here. I don't know. I went with the factory roofing thing that we did on one of our other buildings. I think it was the iron smelter. Kind of felt appropriate, and I'm very pleased with the way it came out. It looks great from the rail line. I actually built this and then rebuilt the roof to turn it around because the sun's coming from the other side, and I wanted some of it to come in here. All right, this is looking good. Green lights, green lights. Excellent. I'll need to do a slight amount of underclocking, but I'll deal with that after we're done here. Looks like it's all flowing. Very nice. All right, so we will start using this stuff next episode. Let's check our power. Looking good, looking good. Excellent. All right, well, let's head back home. And look at this, the color scheme is based on the fact that the building is using iron and copper together. And I like the way it came out, the striping. Normally we put like windows in the mid-range, but I felt like it was just it's so industrial, automated smelter that just for some reason it didn't feel right to put windows in it. And I like the way it came out. So no complaints there. And let's get back home. I'll meet you guys back at the house. All right, here we are back home. See, there's the other building that we used that same style with. I think that's actually, I think it's the iron plate building, not the smelter. That's right there is the smelter. But I really liked it, and I wanted to revisit that style, and I'm pleased with the way it came out on the new building, with the top like that. So yeah, very good, very good. Yeah, we got all the stuff we need done, setting up for moving on to update 6. Again, when I started making this episode, it was with the intent of switching to update 6 halfway through when we finished clearing up all of the stuff over in the oil area. And again, sadly, it just didn't become a reality. I think we're prepared now. There is one little place where we need to move our rail, but it doesn't have to be done before we go to update 6. That's something we can do after update 6. So we're just going to wait until the mod that I use for time-lapsing to be updated to work with update 6, and at that time then we will probably move over to experimental. But now we have our copper up and running. We can easily transition that into the copper sheeting that we're going to need. We'll have way more ingots than we need for the copper sheeting, so that's great. So future projects that we might need copper for, we'll have a ton of it right there next to a station that we can utilize. You can either convert it at that station, or we can move the ingots somewhere else. Not a big deal. We can do it either way. So I'm very happy with that. I'm happy with the way the building came out. I did want to get the sheeting building up and running today, but again, just kind of ran out of time. I'm recording this less than 10 hours away from the publication time, and I still have to finish all the editing and do all the rendering and get all that stuff taken care of. So it was just, I had to call it. I could have time-lapsed another building real fast, but then we wouldn't have had time to walk through it, and I didn't want to rush it. But we made progress, and I'm having fun, and I hope you guys are too. So thank you very much for coming back out. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like. Stop by and leave a comment. Love to hear from you guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. But I definitely hope to see you in a future episode. So thanks again for watching.